I have my phone off. Hi, everybody. This is Joanne Eisen with Reach the Unlimited. We're chatting.
Yes, we are.
Anyway, thank you, everybody, for being here. This is Joanne Eisen with Reach the Unlimited. And today I have Stacy Schuerman with us. And we're going to have a spiritual talk, which is something that I always love to do. So thank you so much for coming and playing today, Stacy. And tell everybody a little bit about you and who you are.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me too. So, I always like the saying that we are not human first, we're spirit first. So, usually I always try to say I'm a spiritual being trying to maneuver my way through this human experience.
I love that.
That's the first thing that I am. But I have found a spiritualist community for me. Like I actually came into spiritualism and found mediumship and spirit communication and thoughts of the afterlife and all of that. I came into that ironically, but you also know I don't believe in irony anymore. I've decided once you get in a spiritual path, you just know.
Exactly.
Right. That there's no such thing as irony. But I grew up very close to my grandfather. And when I was in kindergarten, he passed to spirit and I had a communication with him. Like, he said he was able to say goodbye to me and tell me he was going to go, be in heaven with grandma and just kind of have this whole conversation, that is real as today, 45, whatever you're talking, 40 years later than it was when it really happened. And so I grew up always kind of questioning, like, why are we here? What's our purpose? What do we do? Being taken to Baptist church by my grandma, being raised Catholic by, my parents, and just kind of, nothing kind of seemed to fit for me, and somehow, my parents buy a restaurant that is known to be haunted. When I was 11, they still own it now. And so I got to watch Paranormal Investigation and, because I always knew there was something after this physical life. And so it brought me into developing my mediumship, developing, healing, energetic healing, spiritual healing, and being kind of like a teacher coach. I think we're all students, even the teachers who say they're teachers. We're always learning. But so I just love sharing this because I just feel like there's so many people who are just kind of looking and searching and trying to find a way to really live this human experience to its fullest. And this is why I love like what you do, like what we all need to do, because there's just so many people, I think, wandering in dim light. And if we can help brighten their light by shining ours on them for a little bit, until they realize the power of them, what a greater, to me, not a greater purpose to have, right?
I agree. And hi, Michelle. One of the things that hit me when you were talking is one of the biggest debates in mediumship is how to deal with kids in mediumship. And this is something that I struggle a lot with because I've talked to several people that saw spirit when they were little. And that's a scary thing when you don't really understand what's going on. From your experience, how would you talk with people about how to work with kids that may be seeing spirit, maybe talking to spirit? What would you say in that realm?
So I always say that, the best thing you can do is not just shut them off right away when they start talking about it, but actually seriously listen to them. Listen to what they're saying, not just go, oh, yeah, that's just pretend, or, oh, your imagination is so big, or, oh my gosh, you can't do that. Like, don't make it a negative thing, or a scary thing, because, they most times when I have talked to people who, whose children are seeing spirits, it doesn't become negative until, I hate to say it, adults get involved and put a negative spin on it.
But usually that's coming from the fear or the belief system of the parent. So that's a whole nother topic.
It is.
I know a lot of people feel that we shouldn't be really talking to kids about it because it's too much for them to deal with at a young age. But my feeling is they're already dealing with it. So why would you not educate them and give them the tools that they need to be able to understand it and how to like cope with it, how to set the boundaries, how to work with that energy.
Exactly. I think even my own daughter, when she was
Mhm.
little, started seeing and, like experiencing, for example, my mother-in-law passed away
Mhm.
when she was probably about 5 or 6.
Mm.
And she was saying, like, oh, grandma came. And I said, oh, how wonderful. That's fantastic. Make
Yeah.
sure next time she comes, say hi for me, and tell her
Yeah.
that I love her. But then, like, if she would, and I would say to her, just so Bella, that's my daughter. I'm like, just so you know, if you want, you can pretend that you have wings and you can open your wings, and grandma and grandpa that you never met, they could all come and talk to you and say hi and tell you how much they love you. But if you don't want to talk or if something's uncomfortable, just close your wings. I mean, sometimes it's just a simple statement like that can do wonders to these children. Because I have to tell you, I get on a little bit of side notes, so I apologize, but I've studied this. I feel like it's fascinating. And they're talking about the soft spot in the child's
Mhm.
head, and
Mhm.
that it fuses finally completely. I think it's around when they're 7 or 8.
Somewhere
And
in there.
that's fascinating, because a
Mhm.
lot of times children then stop seeing their imaginary friends. But I wonder how much is, you know, I, I think everything is influential. I think everything has a little bits of truth to it. So, maybe science wise, but upbringing
Mhm.
wise, and I agree with you. We need to educate. Mediumship to me is just another language.
It
It's
is.
just another style of communication. And there's nothing wrong with learning other languages than your
Mhm.
primary one, and so why should we, I don't know. I hate to say,
Well,
make
it
it so.
comes from belief, though. It's a
Yeah,
society. It's a societal thing that
yeah.
we close that down. And like, I mean, hell, we're already talking about abortion issues again. Are you
Oh,
kidding me?
I
We're
know.
going
I
back
know.
to, 1800s. What are we doing here? But
Yeah.
it's the belief system because, I'm not going to get political on this all thing, but it's what's the bigger agenda
Yeah.
is what it's really about. And if we can look at the bigger agenda, then we know really how to handle it. But the problem that I've seen is there's a lot of people in this world, in the mediumship spiritual world, who believe that you shouldn't be teaching children because they're not old enough or they're not mature enough or they're not capable enough. And so that's where I always come back to, but they're experiencing it. Why would you not give them the tools
The
to be
tools
able
to
to
use it
deal with it? Yeah.
or deal with it. Exactly that. And
Mhm.
I agree. I think that, sometimes, and depending on how your belief system is on how you came here, you know,
Right.
so if that's the case, these children probably already knew this form of communication.
Mhm.
And and I think to me, I know, like, within my circle, or at least within, again, I understand that not all spiritual people have to have a religion, so just know that.
Mhm.
But, like,
Mhm.
in my in my form of religion and spiritualism, we actually have and put a lot of effort into children's education, not
Wow.
only just for the mediumship aspect, but the spiritual living aspect, like the idea of meditating, connecting, feeling that God spark, whatever that is to you, or the universe, whatever you want to call it. We talk about some of these things. We have, in our, like I said, in our religion, we have 9 principles we follow, but we actually created a 9 simplified version. And we did this back in the 1930s, 20s, teens, because we knew we had to start educating the kids. And
Wow.
if we started educating them, can you imagine? I mean, I personally would not want my daughter doing readings or anything to other
Right.
people or any of
Right.
that. But being
Exactly.
able for them to feel the
Mhm.
comfort of their loved ones with them in spirit, especially
Mhm.
when they start to suffer a loss
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
any kind. Can you imagine growing up without that agonizing grief? I mean, how? what kind of adult would we be if we didn't have to suffer through some of that, like,
Exactly.
yeah,
That's
I
exactly.
agree.
So what I'm curious about, that was very good that you did that. I
All
was
of a
like,
sudden
it's
I realized,
coming
like, whoa, here comes my aura.
approaching harder and harder too. What kind of spiritualism are you working with? Because I don't know if I personally have not heard of anybody who would actually incorporate children in that way.
Sure. So I actually got some of my qualifications or
Mm-hmm.
credentials through the National Spiritualist Association of
Mm-hmm.
Churches,
Mm-hmm.
which formed in 1893. Like, so, obviously the modern spiritual movement. And what I
Mm-hmm.
mean by that is, listen, we've been taught since we've been human, we have been talking, there has been some form of communication,
Right.
that, with the spirit realm.
Right.
But this was formed kind of more as a movement by a ton of women, which was fantastic back in
Uh-huh.
1893,
Uh-huh.
but also men too. And it was
Mm-hmm.
formed by a large body of people who were
Mm-hmm.
very progressive, like we fought for all rights, period, because we know we're all equal.
Right.
And so this organization formed, and the Lyceum is what we call it. We have like a
Mm-hmm.
children's and adults Lyceum, which are just like educational classes, really.
Mm-hmm.
That was formed even like prior to the movement, the idea of teaching the children. And so we have pioneers who had started children's lyceums in the, late 1890s.
Wow.
So it's been, it's interesting because religion, let's just say all
Yeah.
religion is taking a
Mm-hmm.
much different turn
Mm-hmm.
um, than it was. But, we still stand with the principle of educating the entire family, not just one specific individual. So we're a little bit more open to that. And I have to agree with you, Joanne. Like, I just think that you have to have the conversations. Even
Yeah.
if you avoid having the conversations, you're making mediumship seem to be weird,
Yeah.
strange, and only for the special ones or the chosen ones. And I don't believe that. I believe mediumship is anyone.
Exactly. But isn't that our society? We're going back societal again. It's to have the control, it's to have the superiority, it's to have the
Yeah.
power, which is what we're actually seeing right now and what's going on, and in trying to steal that power back. But it's so vital for us to be able to wake people up and make them think about, what are you voting for? What are your beliefs? How did you, like, I'm a big one for, how did you come across your beliefs? Are they yours? Or are they something that was given to you and you just think it's yours? But if you challenge it, would you really believe the same thing?
Yeah.
Which a lot of people don't do.
No, no. And a lot of people don't want to take responsibility, which,
Mhm.
and I think too, like, being a spiritualist and being able to connect to spirit and through mediumship,
Mhm.
there is a responsibility factor. Like,
Yeah.
spirit kind of says to us, like, hey, I love you, I support you, make your choices
Mhm.
and know that every action there's a reaction. So challenge
Mhm.
your truth, in all spectrums of our life, not
Yeah.
just in mediumship, but you should constantly be challenging your truth. That's how I feel,
Absolutely.
anyways.
Well, we're here to grow. We're here to experience life. And if we're just doing, like, the one thing I learned in my life is, and I do like structure. I like
Hmm.
things to be the same. But that's, you're not growing when you do that. You're living in the safe land, and really you're not getting the fulfillment of the life that you're supposed to have. Like, we're
Yeah.
supposed to be experiencing many different experiences in our life, many different ways through many different people. But yet
Yeah.
we tend to want to stay in this little cocoon where we feel really warm and safe. And it's kind of scary to go out there and challenge yourself. But really, I found, for me, that's where I found the most joy, is to
Yeah.
be able to go out and really challenge my beliefs. Because the thing about it, and I'll have a conversation, because I've had a lot of Bible history education in
Yep.
my lifetime. I can have a really strong conversation with someone because I've had that, and I've also seen the other side of it. And I'm able to really talk about, but what about this? But
Yeah.
what it's given me is more confidence within myself, that now nobody can take that from me. Nobody is going to tell me how I need to worship or I need to think of or I need to do in, which I live most of my life doing that.
Yes.
Control.
And isn't that just an amazing freedom? Like, that's what I love. Like, when I found this world of, spiritualism and spiritual development and just spiritual living, when I found this world, I thought, oh my gosh, like, not only did I find peace, but I found my power. We're
Right.
always searching for power outside of us, or, and instead I found it inside of us. And I thought, how wonderful is that? How amazing that I can be in charge of my own happiness. And,
But why can you really be in charge of your own happiness? Really? Do we know how to do that? I mean,
with a lot of practice, not on the freeway, I can't, because I can't stand when people don't merge. Okay, but
we were talking about that earlier. The growth in California on the freeways is immense.
Right. So, but yeah, just, and that's what I love too, like, about spirit, just even in the mediumship where, you prove continuity of life.
Right.
It's so fantastic to connect people with their loved ones who are really not looking at all of the flaws that we think we have. Like, they're just looking to say, hey, you know what? I love you. We're gonna work on this, or, we'll see each other again. And then, like, if you're into trance mediumship and you listen to, like, the higher spirits, if you would, or I don't care what you want to use for words, teachers, guides, medium, masters, you hear about, this whole idea of, listen, you're a powerhouse, you're an energy ball, you have all the knowledge within, as long as you do the work. It's funny, when you were talking about the comfort zone, I always compare that, like, with my clients. I always say it's like a pair of jeans. You spend so many years working in your favorite pair that they fit like a glove, but the problem is you outgrow them. Either we gain a little weight, or we lose a little weight, or we don't button them and we can't button them, and we can upgrade to a better pair of jeans. It's just that we don't want to take the few weeks to break them in.
Yeah, for sure. I love that analogy. That's a perfect analogy.
Buy the new pair and break them in. You'll be happy when you do.
It's for sure. So what got you into spirituality? How did that road turn?
Oh, fun. That's kind of a funny story. Again, nothing like coincidences. My parents buy this restaurant that was built in 1838 here in Wisconsin. And it's like in the Wisconsin, haunted Wisconsin books, obviously being this old, it definitely comes with some paranormal activity. And I just remember, like, as a teenager, my mom and dad would get inundated with phone calls. Like, we want to camp out at your restaurant one night. And finally I'm like, Mom, can I do it? Can I do it? Because, like, I want to know, I want to know more about it.
Yeah.
And so she's like, sure, go ahead. So I spent years with different paranormal investigators, from, like, the newbies, like the 3 people who are just getting together for fun, to like teams of scientists with computers that took 12 hours to set up infrared lighting and, 20 laptops and, and so that was all because, again, the afterlife fascinated me. Really, a lot of my stuff went into, I totally believe we're continual. If that's the case, what's my purpose here? What do I need to do here?
Right.
And honestly, what happened, it was so funny. A friend of mine said to me one day, hey, did you ever see that series on HBO, No One Dies in Lilydale? And I'm like, no. And she's like, they talk to dead people. And I'm like, what? Like, what? What are you talking about? And so, like, boom, we get in the car, we drive all the way to New York, to go. And it was so funny because the minute I passed in the gates and I watched these beautiful mediums do this, proof of continuity. I remember watching one of them walking their dog around Lilydale. And in my mind, I just kept hearing, I know something you don't know. I know. And I thought, what is that? Like their energy is so peaceful and calm. What is that? Like, and I just kept hearing that little, and I was hooked, line,
Oh,
sinker.
wow.
Meditation classes, mediumship classes,
Mhm.
intuitive classes, anything, and that's been 15, 16 years ago. And here now I'm, ordained and a certified medium through, the organization. And I mean,
Uh-huh.
my life just has enveloped this, and it all stemmed, all kind of, it's like amazing what spirit does. They just open doors. And if you're smart
Yeah.
enough, you walk through it and you're amazed at what's on the other side.
And that is the key, isn't it? If you have the courage to walk through that door, how many doors have you come across where you're like, maybe next one? And you never know where that door is going to go or what that is going to open for you. So it is about having that courage to walk through the door. Because, the thing about it I see is people feel like something's going to happen to them, something bad's going to happen to them, or they're going to change, or they're going to be possessed, or whatever. I mean, there's so many different belief systems to that. But we always have control. We never not have control when we're doing a reading with someone that has passed over. We always have control.
Yeah. That goes back to the normalizing,
Yeah.
because I have never, I mean, this, this is one of the things. So I'm going to be honest, I have a love-hate relationship with paranormal investigation
I'm
because
happy to hear you say that.
because I do believe in some of the science aspect of
Mhm.
it. I've seen
Mhm.
things, I've witnessed things, and I think,
Mhm.
even me, even myself, I'm a little healthy skeptic. Even
Mhm.
sometimes after a reading, I go, I can't believe.
You're not alone on that one.
How did that? Even though
Yeah.
we take classes,
Uh-huh.
I'm always so in awe of what spirit
Mhm.
can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm also a little bit like, okay, well, like, I need to know the circumstances, or,
Yeah.
I'm a healthy little skeptic, which I think we should be,
Yeah,
because
we
that's
should be.
how we're seeking new truths. If you're just like,
Right.
oh no, I believe it, and you never question, well, where are we ever going to get? But that being said, I also seen the scary aspect made for TV that's just like fake. Like, oh my God, they're possessed, and you need to twirl 22 times and sprinkle this and chant this. And I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding? Like, are you kidding me? Because that is just, especially in my parents' place.
Mhm.
Because you know what I think it is? I think, the word ghost, or things getting stuck
Mhm.
in. I just think it's so blown out of proportion. And I think a lot of it's blown out of proportion, and I hate to say it out loud, but I'm going to, is for power, control, or money.
Absolutely, 100%. Because, I mean, you've been doing mediumship for many years. I don't know if it's a full 16 years, but you've been doing mediumship for many years. And I've been doing it for many years. And I have never come across a spirit that was dark or evil or bad or anything. I've been in situations where you can feel the energy. And the thing about it, especially when you're newer, is you get that kind of anxiousness, but it's
Sure.
not about the spirit being bad. It's about your fear of what it is. It's never about the spirit. It's always about your not understanding it, not really knowing what it is, maybe past beliefs that come in. There's so many other parts of it that causes that angst in us. So, what kind of things did you experience, though, in the reality of what happened in the restaurant?
Oh, well, so on top of the restaurant, yes, and
Yeah.
I study physical mediumship, but
Uh-huh.
there was, so in the restaurant, it was so common
Yeah.
to see doors open and close,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, one time we watched one literally on camera. It had a latch hook.
Uh-huh.
And we watched the hook come out, the door open, the door come back, the latch go in, and no one there. Like, like
Oh.
even a little bit of my, like, maybe biased afraid of the dark fear came out for that
Uh-huh.
one, because I was like, whoa.
And I think that's because we understand that energy is energy. It's just energy.
That's
When we
all it
pass,
is.
we go back to energy, and energy can be manipulated. It's
Yeah.
really a matter of that. It's purely that. It doesn't go any farther than that.
No.
But yet, even I, like, if I ever deal with something along that, I'm still like, I run the other way. I do. I can't. And I know it's about my belief system. I know I still haven't come to that point where I can just stand there and go, I'm getting better though. I have to say, the other day I was watching something where the door opened and then the door closed. And I'm like, oh, they made that up. But then they really showed that the door actually opened and closed.
Yeah.
And it was a regular routine, like whoever the spirit was would come home at the same time every night and would go through that door at the same time, because it's kind of the same time of thing.
Yeah.
And I was watching that going, I really feel that energy there. I can feel it.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel scary. It was just, I'm going to
Yeah.
go through the door. I don't want to go through the door. I want to open the door and go that way.
Yeah. Well, and that's how I felt kind of about the ghosts of the restaurant. I
Yeah.
became, to me, they were people who built that building. That was their home. So, the spirit world isn't 22 galaxies and one turn to the right after Pluto away from us. It's
Mhm.
literally right here
Yes.
next to us. So
Yeah.
if heaven would, their idea of heaven would be living in the home they built with their blood, sweat, and tears, why would I try to say, like, get out, I own this place? Like,
Yes.
let them have their space. It wasn't ever, that, fear or, bad, but you're right. It's the people who don't really deal with what your biases are
Right.
on the inside that add to that fear. You were saying something that reminded me of one of the things that I have studied a lot, and
Mhm.
I work into my daily life, are like natural and spiritual laws. So
Mhm.
like through the law of science, right?
Mhm.
Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, it only changes form.
Mhm.
Right there makes me know that I'm eternal because
Exactly.
I'm energy.
Right.
And then, like you were saying, the law of vibration, the law of attraction, which everybody knows about, right? But
Mhm.
there's a lot of laws that work with that law.
Mhm.
If our intention is pure and good, and we hold ourselves to a vibrational frequency where only good and positive can come in, that's all I ever have come in. I don't have anything lower, and I'm not going to lower my
Yes.
vibration to connect to anything lower than what I can handle. So I don't know. I just am not, to me, it's not all wooey wooey. It's just real. It's normal. Like, it's just normal communication. Educate yourself,
Mhm.
continue to educate yourself, gain knowledge, always question yourself. And it just becomes normal, not this, oh, I don't know.
I was thinking when you were saying that, because some people can see spirit, some people can't. Sometimes you can get like the glimpses of something that's off in your peripheral vision.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't. Some people can feel the spirit. Some people can sense the spirit. Wouldn't that be amazing when we come to that time period where we can just accept, and then what is what is, instead of, because when you were talking about all the different reasons that people may be afraid or turn away from it or whatever, it kind of reminds me a little bit of, well, fear will keep us from seeing, feeling, or whatever, but it
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of a prejudice. Like, we have a prejudice against spirit because we don't believe, or I want to say, because we can believe, but if we don't truly believe, then
Right.
we're not going to see it, because it's the doubt. It's that fear and the doubt that's going to keep us from truly being open to all of the loved ones that are literally around us as we're speaking.
Absolutely. And not only that, in a spiritual aspect, it will keep us from moving forward. I mean,
Absolutely.
if we're just so afraid,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like every door won't open because we're just, and it's honestly us preventing it. It's,
Yes.
it really is. And I hope I always remember saying, and I still hope, like, I
Mm-hmm.
hope that my daughter's generation, or my I prefer my daughter, but if I have to have a grandchild, I hope that generations soon start accepting this as a lifestyle.
A reality.
A reality, because I'm telling you, the absolute comfort it has brought me
Mm-hmm.
has changed my changed this human life experience for me 100,000%.
I have to agree with you. I was on a completely different track. And when I started realizing there was more, or actually, though, wouldn't you say that if you were to really look at your life, that it was actually going back to when you were a child and the things that you even experienced then? And it's that building up of questioning, well, how about this? Or how did that happen? Or how could that be? And that's where you start opening your mind to there's more to it. And then that starts that progression. But I'm with you. The love, the passion that I have and the understanding that I have about the whole bigger picture now is completely different. The only thing that I find in my process is I'm still human.
Yeah, me too.
So like this afternoon, I had something happen. It was like, rah, 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 rah. And so, that's when you're like, okay, back to reality. We are still human beings and we're not going to live in, Shangri-La or whatever, but it's still that part of the process of our evolving to a bigger picture. And I believe in what you were saying is that this next generation is going to be substantially deeper and connected to spirit than we are or have been in our generations. But I feel like there's still going to be a progression of that change because I feel like there's still so much work we have to do in our world to change. I mean, look where we're at again. I didn't even plan on talking about this, but look at because not only is Roe versus Wade going to be important for women's rights, but it also is a doorway to religion. It's also a doorway to coming back into controlling more of how we live our life based on religious beliefs. Right. It's really a serious thing. And so I do feel like this is going to be a big step forward in coming out of that, but we have to make it to where we never go back that way. We never step back into that stupidity of thinking that religion, I'm not putting anything down or anybody down, but the biblical control idea of religion is what's going to save this world.
Right. Absolutely. And you know what, like what you were saying too is, being raised in a couple different religions, we have to break away from this all, to me, it's just, all religion, even spiritualism is human made. I acknowledge that it's the truth. Yeah. But what I find interesting and fascinating is all of the beautiful, if we could just stick with the basic foundation, that of a God concept of a collective consciousness and the essence of we're all part of. And how amazing is that? Because without you, I couldn't really exist. We all have to exist together, and that living a most harmonious life, like the golden rule, you find that in every religion. Like, yes, if we can just stick to those basic foundations, but gosh darn it, people want to just control things so much. And I remember I probably gave my mom an ulcer at one point. I remember she would have some priests sometimes over for dinner, and I would be questioning everything. Like, did God really say that, I can't do anything with someone else until I'm married? Because I don't see where that, I just question some of these rules. Or if I only eat fish on Friday, during Lent, how did these rules, who's making these up? It's
the one that I always loved is God is omnipresent, but yet you have to go sit in a church to be heard or in a confessional booth to be heard, or you have to do it in front of a priest to be heard. Because, is that not going back to like the Old Testament?
Yeah.
It's something like that.
Well, but thank goodness, though, I have to tell you, Joanne, I'm so glad that we connected, and that you continue to connect out, and I continue to reach out, and there's just more of us. And I think the more, it's time now, for me anyways, I hate to say came out, but I right away, when I knew that this was my belief system, it didn't matter what my family, what my friends' belief system was. I started speaking my truth, and I continue to speak my truth about beliefs. And, I get it. I'm not here to convert you. I am not a converter, I am not, but I am at least wanting to share, or at least give you another perspective. be
You
open
know,
to another perspective.
I feel like that is really important, but I do feel like it's going to take time because there's still so much fear around, and because I feel like it's a process, right? When I first walked away from my religions that I was a part of, and I grew up in all kinds of religions as well, um, I had to come to peace with myself before I could take that stand of saying I could speak to you about this and in public about this. And
Mhm.
what I want to say to that is take your time to do that, because it's important that you do that part of it. Because once you get past that part of you really understanding who you are and what you believe, not based on everybody else's input into your life, but what you actually believe, that's when you can start making a change in, because as we know, we all live in our little microcosm worlds, right? And then that keeps growing out. And so you're right. We all have to keep talking about it and changing the norm, because that's not what is real. And then the more that we can do that and people become more steady and more confident in their belief system, that's where the change is going to happen, because there are going to be those people that want to be that dictator, that upper controlling. We need to keep the
Yeah.
thumb on everybody because we don't want people thinking for themselves.
Right. Right.
That's key.
Yeah, that is big. But we're gonna keep moving forward. But you're right. I wanted to say too, like I love that. Like I always say we should
Mhm.
take an hour out of every week and just know yourself. Know
Yeah,
yourself a little more, know yourself a little deeper or bigger
right.
or whatever, however it feels for you. But really get to that place. And that also works for people who are in the beginning stages of
Mhm.
feeling these empaths, this empathic ability. I always say, ask yourself, is this you or
Yes,
is it something around you? And you would
right.
be so surprised that gut answer is never really it's you. It always tends to be, a situation,
Right.
a person, an emotion that isn't necessarily caused by you or felt by you. And so I loved when you were saying that, to take that time and get to know you, and continue to
Mhm.
keep knowing yourself.
Because you're right. There are a lot of times, especially when I first started my path, where I was picking up everybody's stuff. I was just like, I didn't even know
Right.
what was me and wasn't me. But through my work now, I know when there's something going on in my energy field.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, what is that? Wait a minute, and but that's been a lot of my inner work. Again, though, I feel like don't be discouraged
Yeah.
by your process, because the process of learning is not easy, and we sometimes don't like that process because it means we have to change, or we have to look at something we don't want to look at, or it's hard, or we feel like we're not getting ahead. I mean, we can put
Oh
hundreds
yeah.
of words next to that.
Yeah. I always say spiritual work is not easy. If
No.
you think it's like, oh, I'm going to just, become a, energy healer or medium or an intuitive and I'm going to live spiritually, and I'll have it all done in 6 months, I just think, it's not, and it's not made for the, it's not made for the, week, if you would. It's work. I mean,
It is work. It
oh,
is
it
work.
is work.
And I think it's life work, because I think that's another fallacy, is that people think, well, I've been doing it for 20 years. What's the deal? Well, you're probably going to be doing it for another 20 years or 60 years, however long you're going to live.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's like I said, I'm still driving down the freeway going, "Rah, rah, rah, rah," I'm going to be a human being.
the freeway is my big lesson, I think. More of the so right now than anything. But yeah, the freeway is
Absolutely.
well, and here's the thing, and this is what I say too, be kind to yourself.
Yes.
Really be kind, be gentle, because the thing is what I have found in all of this work and meeting the people that I meet
Hmm.
is that we're spirit first, but while
Hmm.
we're here, we're human.
Right.
So it's like, living with your ex in your body. Like you got to kind of make peace a little bit with some things. You know what I mean? Because,
I love
you know,
Oh, that's a good one.
You gotta make, and the thing is we can't, I get the like shed our ego, like I get
Mhm.
that kind of thing. I also know that it's a very hard, it's a life process.
It is a life process.
And
Yeah.
I find it more, I don't know, comforting to know that we all sometimes have struggles. I don't, I'm a unicorn and rainbows kind of girl. I am, and I always try to be more optimistic than
Mhm.
pessimistic.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I have I'm real. And what I have learned through some of my development, and maybe you have through yours, is instead of now, like when I'm in traffic, I'm going to go back to my traffic. I'm as soon as I get on the freeway, I already have an awareness now, because
Mhm.
I try to practice spiritual living all hours of the
Mhm.
day, not just
Yes.
for, and
Mhm.
I already have an awareness. So the first person that cuts me off gets the old me. The second person who cuts me off is getting the kind of bless you,
Yeah.
me. And then usually when I get into work or about to get off the freeway, I'm like, oh yeah, merge, come on in, like,
See, I do the opposite. I'll start out like, bless you, child. By the time I get to where I'm going, I'm like, "Rrr." But you know what I do when I'm doing that is I'll be aware that I'm being snippy today. What's going on?
yes,
That's really my first clue that there's something bigger than that. Because when I'm really good and everything is fine, I'm not bothered by it.
yeah,
If I'm triggered by something or dealing with something in my life, or I'm feeling like maybe I haven't been sitting with my team enough or whatever, broken from my routine. Although I have to say, that is another thing that people in our world tend to do as a kind of scapegoat, but it still goes back to having some kind of ritual. Like I
hmm,
have to do this every day or I'm going to be punished. Have you found that?
yes. Yes, that's interesting that you say that.
Mhm.
I guess, I have gotten over this idea of vicarious atonement or being punished from
Uh-huh.
outside
Yeah.
of things, because I do, like, if you read some of the old early mediumship books, it was you
Mhm.
sit every Wednesday at
Mhm.
7 o'clock on the
Mhm.
nose, da, 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 you know, and
Same place in the
yeah, and I
same
kept
position.
thinking like, okay, but wait a minute, if spirit is limitless, like you
Mhm.
don't think that, but then I looked into the idea of it. One, it was habit forming,
Right. That is true.
which is, kind of important, and it also gave this idea, again, it kind of kept us in check of, don't
Mhm.
just expect spirit to be at our beck and call either. We have to, co-communicate. I mean, it is a process. It's not like, I would assume, I hear this about mediumship too all the time, I'm not a funnel that's being controlled. I am an
Mhm.
active participant
Yes.
communicating between spirits.
Mhm.
I'm not just this, oh, I'm going to give you all this information and just do what I'm told. I ask questions to spirit, I give the information. So I
Mhm.
think that some of those older defined rules, or I do see them as an scapegoat too, because again, you should be living it 24/7, not open to spirit 24/7, but living the spiritual laws lifestyle 24/7, which would make communication, if you were truly living in that
Mhm.
spiritual intention, I wouldn't have to sit at 7 on Wednesday every
Yeah.
single
Yeah. I think for me, it taught me, like you said, the pattern, like the
yeah,
commitment to it. This is a commitment. This is what I experienced, that kind of thing.
yeah,
But what it also did was open my awareness to my connection with my team 24/7, which is really ultimately where you want to go. Because when you are connected, when you're driving down the freeway and your team knows that there's an accident, could inspire you to turn another way or whatever, unless there's something for you to learn, or it's just free will and we just happen to be. I mean, there's so many avenues depending on
yeah,
what the situation is. But the point to that being that you're always connected to your team. And it's not about, if I don't do exactly what you said, sit at 7 o'clock for an hour every day, don't do anything but still my mind.
yeah. if you even think this mind stills, oh my gosh, I got a lot of things to sell you.
I hear you. I hear you. I mean, people that I work with, I tell them, listen, you do the best you can because there's some days you're not going to do it. It's just so
Yeah.
much going on and you have to give yourself a break.
Yeah.
Totally.
Totally. You have to be kind to yourself. You have to live in balance.
Right.
There's a reason why we're here with our human self right now. So
Mhm.
we have to try to live as best as we can, a balanced life. It makes for good. Like you said, I have my team or my little
Mhm.
grandma or my grandpa. I mean,
Mhm.
the screen door is always open for them. They can come
Yeah.
in anytime. Everyone else's people, well, check me when it's time. But yeah, it's so great to have that awareness. I think that's even just the key. Even if you don't necessarily are, are always checking in with them, but you're aware that they're always around you. That's enough sometimes to give me the
Yeah.
gusto and the energy and the strength to continue on in something if I'm starting to get frustrated or
Yeah.
irritated or feeling like I can't do it.
I just have with my team an open door policy. You have something to tell me because I'm going to listen.
Yep. Yep. Well,
And
and I'm a huge aura reader.
uh-huh.
I admit this all the time. Like every person, every animal, every situation that I find myself in, I literally watch people's auras and how they interact and
Uh-huh.
how because it helps me. Do you
Yeah.
know, like it helps
Mhm.
me maybe get a point across or
Mhm.
be able to communicate on a much better way by
Yeah.
reading their auras. Thank
Right.
goodness though I don't go around telling everybody. That's where I draw the line. Well, except for now, everyone who ever meets me now from now on are going to know, like, oh, you're reading my aura, are you now, Stacy?
They're going to be like, what are you seeing? What do I need to be doing? Do all your friends know you do this?
Yeah, some of them do. And it's funny, it's hysterical. Sometimes they'll be like, what's my aura today? And I laugh. And I just shake my head. And a lot of times they're just happy without an answer, but they do tease me.
That's funny.
It is
Well, I
funny.
think that's a really interesting point because a lot of people talk about that and then other people get frustrated because they can't do that. And so I'm hearing we need to go back to that because everybody has different talents or different
Oh,
abilities. Not everybody can read an aura, but not everybody can do something else like the feeling.
right.
Like I'm always the feel. I'm going to know it. I'm going to tell you something without
Yeah.
even knowing I'm telling you about your whole life story. I'm just going to do it. Just is
Yeah.
what I am.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we all have these different things. And so that's what we have to realize that our talents or the things that we naturally do are important to our life and the lessons that we're here to learn that.
Absolutely.
True.
And not only that, like when you're getting to know yourself and you know how
Mm-hmm.
you read energy. I mean, think about language. I mean, if we really think about mediumship as just
Mm-hmm.
another language,
Right.
there's an importance to dialect. Where do you
Mm-hmm.
come from? How does it sound? Like, with me and my Midwest accent for some of you, Californians, I say bag funny, I say milk funny, like, and that's all right. But that makes me me. And that
Right.
makes me, and I can communicate in a way that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense to me. And you are you. I remember I'm very mostly clairvoyant
Mm-hmm.
with the clairsentience,
Mm-hmm.
the feeling. But I
Mm-hmm.
remember, and this is what's so important in any of your spiritual development. I'm just gonna like a little PSA, a public spiritualist announcement. If you're trying something and it's frustrating you or it's feeling like you're a failure at it, you can't do it, try something else.
Yeah.
Find a new, go to a different class, read a different book. And if you only like you read a book and you're like, this page works, but none of the rest of the book works, then take that page and throw the rest out.
Exactly.
Because this is such a, especially developing mediumship, it's
Mm-hmm.
such a individual choice, like it's an individual experience. And I remember being so frustrated because I couldn't, now I'm clairvoyant and I couldn't see auras. I am like staring at my hand on the white wall until I started seeing like 20 fingers but no aura, like I don't understand what they're talking about. And it was my spirit team that said, listen, you feel the aura first. Once you feel the aura, we'll produce it. And it was that moment that I'm like, oh my gosh. So I just felt the aura. And it's like, oh, I can feel how it's moving, how fast or
Mhm.
slow, or, and as I started to feel it, then I started to see colors.
Mhm.
And one of the stories I tell all the time, and I think you'll appreciate this from all of our conversations so far, I went to college for art history. So I'm
Mhm.
kind of like a glorified artist lover. Let's just say I don't do it myself, right? But
Uh-huh.
from my knowledge, from my understanding, all colors combined makes black.
Uh-huh.
So black is my favorite color because it means balance. It means everything. So and then people would say, surround yourself with the white light. And I'm like, that's void of all color. I don't know if I want to do that. So when I started reading about what colors
Mhm.
mean, I realized I had to come up with my own dictionary.
Yes, absolutely.
I had to come up with my own dictionary. Now, I'll tell you, I've seen one Buddhist monk in Bhutan have a black aura. Everybody else is trying, but it's so hard to be balanced.
I love how you said that. That was good. You're trying. You're trying. You'll get there.
So there's a little bit of gray in there, you're getting there, but and I think
Uh,
that's important. That's just important because like everybody now, granted, I'm not going to go
mhm.
to church and I'm not going to do a healing session with somebody when I say surround yourself with black light of healing. They'd probably look at me like I'm some you know but it's important that
Oh,
we have these conversations
right,
because
right.
how many people are seeing the color red and maybe they
Yeah,
hate the color red? So red doesn't mean love to them. It means more like frustration.
yeah,
Well, if
definitely.
that's what it means for you, then that's what it means for you. Make
Right.
your own. Um,
I love what you said about that because that also goes true to mediumship. If you have your symbol ideas that you got out of a book, then you're going to be struggling and get frustrated because it doesn't mean it to you. You have to
mhm.
understand what it means to you. But you know what I love about what you said? You guys all just got your price of admission here. Is that the gifts that we naturally have, but to develop them takes work. You can't just say, but I looked at the wall with my hand and I didn't see it. I must not be able to do it and walk away.
Yes.
That's really what I heard out of what you said.
Yes, yes. Well, okay, I got goosebumps up and down. Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's still like in my mediumship, my intuitiveness, it's still developing. As I develop in my understanding, it's still developing. And
absolutely.
yeah, don't give up.
Yeah.
Just keep trying or keep finding ways and start to create your own personal language, because I'll tell you, spirit's going to show up for you. If your intention and your
Mm-hmm.
desire is to really connect, they
Yeah,
will connect.
absolutely. Well, I only want to tweak that a little bit just
Okay,
because I got a hiccup in that.
got
They're
it.
always with us. It's our awareness again, right, of the
Yes.
connection to them. So they're always with us. They're always teaching us, even those little tiny nudges that you may not even know you're being nudged, you're still getting to where you need to go. And all those nudges will end up creating the bigger picture of who you're actually going to be. So they're always there. But we have to do our part on the other side. That's what you were talking about. We
Oh,
have
yeah.
to do our part.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do. We have to do the work. We have to do the work. And I can tell you, I think you probably know this too. I mean, I have taken classes that have frustrated me and and sometimes feeling like I don't get it, but you work through it and you
You
continue
do.
it's I don't know, to me sometimes I think it's all about balance.
Yeah, it is.
We're never going to live the most perfect level life, in this human experience because, well, why would we be here if we were just going to walk around level?
That's what I always say to people. Why would we come to this planet that's a hellhole to be in utopia? We would just stay in utopia. Why would we come here to be in utopia? No.
No, yeah, we've come here to learn. We have to accept that at some point. But hopefully we're not a constant teeter-totter. Hopefully we can be more like a nice little, glider versus a crazy swing, like that's what our goal is anyways, let's just say.
It is our goal. And sometimes I have to remind myself of that too. Listen, this is just a lesson. It's not reality. You're going to be okay. This is a lesson for you. Wanted this as a soul progression. So it's okay. You're going to get through this. Sometimes it's not that easy.
Oh, no. I know.
It's like, what the hell?
I know. Well, yeah, right. Like, stop the train. I want to get off this way.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. So, I think one of the things you said too, the key is now at least we walk around with that awareness 24/7. Sometimes we ignore the awareness because
sometimes we really do. And you're like, what was I thinking? But that's okay because that's still a part of our learning. Because you know what that teaches you? Don't ignore it next time.
Exactly. Or what I always love too is you start to establish trust in yourself, really, because I trust spirit 100%. I don't trust myself sometimes. So it also helps establish the trust. There's been so many moments, for any of you who are listening or who have met us or who will listen in the future, something brought you to this discussion. So something has kind of put you in this path, of discussion. And this is a sign, to trust ourselves, though, we have to start also acknowledging every little sign, and not keep asking for more. Or what I always like is the meme. Like, okay, I'm going to ask for a sign. Like, I want a feather and a feather falls out. Well, I need a sign-ear sign.
We're not talking to anybody who may or not may be listening to this right now who needs to have 3 or 4 signs. But it's right. But I feel like they still kind of chuckle and get that we are human and that is a part of our process of, especially when it's something really important. And you don't want to put too much hope into it or, or worry into it or whatever it is that you want more and more. But I feel like you're completely right on when it's all about developing the trust. It's trust between our soul and ourselves as a human and our connection with the team. And that's the biggest part, I think, because a lot of times we'll know that spirit is with us. But do we really always know that our soul is with us and that our soul actually does have the blueprint, or they're actually they're reading the map? We're the driver and they're telling us which way to go. And we don't listen. And that's, but it's not that we ever do anything wrong when we don't.
Yeah.
And that's the other part of understanding that when you aren't listening and you do that, damn it, why didn't I listen to that? That's just a part of the lesson of the next time you won't. And that's the lesson, is that I feel like it's more of us blending and connecting back with self.
Oh, everything. Yeah, everything. I think it's was it the Delphi, know thyself. That is, I mean, it really, if there's one purpose, it's that purpose.
It is.
And knowing that self is loving that self, no matter what. No matter what we're going through, being kind to ourselves, laughing at ourselves, learning about ourselves, all of that stuff you're right. It all boils back down to self. And our team is our self cheerleaders. They're just right there behind us, trying to remind us.
I love what you said about laugh at yourself. How often do we forget that part of the whole denominator there? We're always like, I should do more. My personality is that. So I have a hard time laughing at myself.
Yeah.
It's something we've been talking about that maybe we should cover, because I'm realizing maybe not everybody understands what we mean about a team.
Oh, sure. Yes. Well, so I'm sure we have a few different, maybe opinions, but my opinion is that we chose to come here. We didn't get shoved down. Like, we didn't get picked out and said, good luck to you, I'm shoving you down here. I mean, I really believe we chose to come here for whatever reason, for whatever lesson we wanted to learn. And for me, how that worked was, or how I perceive it as my truth is, there was spiritual, like a protector, a healer, a teacher, a joy guide, these guides, these, energetic spirit team, if you would, that, sat down with me and said, all right, we're going to call you Stacy. And, this is what you're wanting to learn. And we're going to be behind you, supporting you and helping you, nudge you, reminding you why you chose to come to this experience. And I started working with my team right away. And when I lost my first loved one, I mean, when grandpa crossed over and then when grandma crossed over, they were also like, they joined the team, just being there. So when I'm talking about team, I'm talking about, your guides, your teachers, your inspirers, your loved ones, I think, I hate to say I don't want to see my team grow, but reality will state it'll grow. People I love will, move to their spiritual expression, and, and they'll join in the team. So, and there's ways to meet your team.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. If you don't know who they are, there's ways to find out and really start working with them, because that was one of the first things I ever learned. And wow, did that bring me a lot of information, because they also help me learn.
Right. Yeah. One of the things that I think people do, though, is they get hung up on needing to know their team. And I feel like you got to wherever you're at without knowing who exactly each person on your team is, because they're there to help you, whether you know them by name or, man, I just got the shivers all the way down. It's not about that. Now, some people, though, it's important for them to, which you're right. You can sit in a meditation. You can ask them to come towards you. You can ask them to blend with you and give you information, or there's other ways you can do that. But the main thing is to know that they're with you and trust them. That is the main part of our experience here, because I agree with you. My scenario is, I was in this great cafe in the sky, and we were all having coffee and great lattes. And we were laughing and talking about how we were going to do all these wonderful things to each other, and what a great idea it was. And it's all going to be great on the other side, because it's not going to be so fun here. But definitely we all had this all set up for us to have the experience to learn.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would we be here? We would not have chosen this. You guys are funny. You guys are really, really funny on your comments.
Oh, too fun.
I have been watching them.
Oh, good.
So what is your, what would be your last golden nugget you would want people to know?
Oh, my last.
Although I could sit here and talk to you for hours.
I know. I feel like, what? I feel like, oh, it's over. I can't even believe we've been going for an hour. I think my last, I guess, tip, if I would, for people is to please just be you. Just embrace you and who you are and what you bring to this world and to this experience. And, try, I don't know. I'm done with cookie cutter anything. I want the individuality. I want the, personal identity of all of us to shine, because I think we need that more now than ever. We need people to just be true to themselves and, and enjoy the ride, I guess, too. Enjoy the ride. I'll end with a friend of mine had this little, like, I don't know, a wood block that had a saying in it, and it said, if you can't laugh at yourself, call me and I'll laugh at you. And I thought, well, there you have it, because, the best thing I can tell you is you're going to live forever, and forever is a very, 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 very long time. And this this human experience is but a mere blimp in the radar. So make sure that you have fun doing it. And
I
don't let
agree
it
with you.
control you. Yeah.
We don't tend to do that enough because we take it so serious. So yes, laugh and have fun. And don't be, I mean, some people do that easier than others, but try to do it wherever you can. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been such a joy chatting with you and getting to know you and your I mean, we're on the same page, right? I could tell we're on just the same page with the way we look at things.
If you ever find yourself in Wisconsin, look me up. And if I ever find myself, California is a huge state though, so we'll see. But I'll find you.
But I'm really close to why people usually come to California.
Oh.
We have awesome beaches and Disneyland is here.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
All right.
Although there are some really beautiful beaches north, but anyway. Anyway, thank you guys all for being such great chatters in the chat box. I've been enjoying watching what you've been saying. And Stacy, thank you so much for your time and sharing your wisdom with us. We sure do appreciate it.
Thank you. This was great.
All right, everybody. Have a good night. Oh, wait, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
Oh, I'm like, I don't know. Telepathically, I'm hearing the calls come in.
Schuerman is here.
No, I actually, you can look on my, I have a website, Spiritualist Stacy or Stacy Schuerman on Facebook. So yeah, reach out and share. Absolutely. Thank you.
And do it via Zoom so she can read your aura and then everything will be good. You reach out to her and say, I want a Zoom call.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Everybody have a good night. Now, Marcia and I may or may not do card readings tomorrow night. That we're on the, well, one of us is on the fence to that one, and I'll raise my hand. That would be me. So, so we may or may not, but tomorrow night is our night. So, and we will be on YouTube, not on Facebook. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Oh, good.
All right, everybody. Have a good night. Bye.
Good night.